All right, let's talk about it. If you're a software developer or you're trying to become one, you've probably been feeling this anxiety bubbling up. It's pretty much impossible to ignore the headlines. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise and figure out what is really going on in the developer job market. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It feels like every single day there's some new reason to be worried. You see the news, you hear the chatter online, and it's just so easy to start thinking, man, did I miss the boat? This feeling is coming from a few really specific places. First up, the layoffs, and the headlines are just constant, and let's be honest, they're alarming. You see these huge, famous tech companies cutting thousands and thousands of jobs, and it just feels like this never-ending cycle of bad news. Then you've got the hiring freezes. Companies that were just on a massive hiring spree are suddenly slamming on the brakes. That just shrinks the whole pool of opportunities and makes the job hunt feel way, way more competitive. And of course, the elephant in the room, AI. There's this kind of deep existential fear growing that these new AI coding tools are eventually just going to take over and make human developers obsolete. It's a lot. It's a heavy thing to think about. But here's the thing about headlines. They're designed to get a reaction, not to tell you the complete story. So to really get what's happening, we have to push past the fear and actually look at the data. So let's start with the big picture. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the demand for software developers is projected to grow by 17% over the next decade. Now, to be clear, that's not just growth. That is a wildly faster rate than the average for pretty much all other jobs. And what about the money? Well, the median salary for a developer right now is hovering around $120,000 a year. That's a powerful number on its own, for sure, but it gets even more powerful when you give it some context. And this context is absolutely crucial. The median salary for a developer is roughly double the median for the entire U.S. workforce. So, despite all the scary headlines, this career is still one of the most financially rewarding paths you can take. Period. Okay, so if the long-term outlook is that strong, what is going on with those layoff numbers? They're real, they're scary. To make sense of them, we just need to zoom out a little and see the bigger picture. Let's just take an example. When a giant company like Microsoft lays off, say, 15,000 people, that number is staggering. It sounds like the end of the world. But for a company that has over 220,000 employees, it's actually a pretty small percentage. It's more of a course correction after a massive hiring boom, not a sign that the ship is sinking. So this is the key takeaway right here. The media loves to focus on big tech layoffs because it gets clicks. But the full picture shows that tons of smaller companies and totally different industries, we're talking healthcare, finance, retail, you name it, are still hiring developers like crazy. Net job growth is still happening. All right, let's tackle that other big source of anxiety. Artificial intelligence. Is it really here to replace us all, or is there maybe a different way to look at this whole thing? Right now, today, AI is best understood as an augmentation tool. Think of it like a co-pilot. It's not the pilot flying the plane. It's there to handle all the boring, repetitive tasks, which frees you, the developer, the pilot, up to focus on the stuff that requires real human brain power. AI is fantastic at stuff like generating boilerplate code or suggesting a quick fix for a common bug. But ask it to do the really complex work, like design an entire system from scratch, or think through all the security implications, or make a huge strategic decision about architecture. No way. That still needs an expert, a human expert. So this brings us to a really critical question. If AI is going to handle all the routine stuff, what is it that makes a human developer truly, deeply irreplaceable? Well, the answer is in mastering a toolkit of core skills that machines just can't copy. I just love this quote because it really gets to the absolute heart of it. AI can write code, sure, but it can't think like an engineer. It can't do that deep analytical work of taking a huge, messy, ambiguous problem and breaking it down into small, solvable chunks. That is the core value of a developer. So this right here, this is your irreplaceable toolkit. This is your fortress. Algorithmic thinking is the foundation. System architecture, designing the big picture.
AI can't do that. Designing a robust, secure database, thinking about security from day one, owning the entire cloud and DevOps pipeline, these are the domains where human expertise is everything.
Okay, we've busted some myths, we've defined the skills that matter most, so now let's get super practical. What are the actual concrete things you can do to thrive in the market right now? Here it is, your action plan. First, your GitHub portfolio has to show you can solve complex problems, not just that you've finished a tutorial. Second, build your network. Your next opportunity is way more likely to come from a real conversation than a random job board. Third, you have to commit to always be learning. And finally, you have to master the technical interview. It's still the gate you have to pass through. You know, a great mental model for your career is this idea of a T-shaped profile. The horizontal part of the T, that's your broad knowledge across a lot of different areas. But the vertical stem of the T, that's your deep, specialized expertise in one or two things that are in super high demand. That combination makes you both versatile and incredibly valuable. So at the end of the day, the market isn't collapsing. It's evolving. The challenge isn't about being replaced. It's about adaptation. The real question isn't if you'll be replaced. It's how will you adapt? How will you use these new tools, deepen your core skills, and become the person who solves the next generation of complex problems? Because the world will always need great problem solvers. The only question is whether you'll be one of them. Thanks for watching.